and welcome to my channel. My name is Rusty, and this is where I get to talk about my favorite music, my favorite movies. So welcome to Scream With Me, where I get to talk about tonight one of my favorite vampire movies ever, if not the best vampire movie ever, Let the Right One In. Be sure it's the right one before you let them in. But Let the Right One In. This is a absolutely phenomenal movie. Let's get some specs going. It was released in 2008. It was directed by Tomas Alfredson, who did a great job. The screenplay was written by the guy who wrote the book. It was a fantastic book. Wow, if they had put everything in the book in this movie. John Ajvide Lindqvist is the screenwriter of this movie. He also wrote the book, which if you haven't read the book, wow. It stars Kåre Hedebrant, Lina Leandersson, and Ragnar. The movie centers around two adolescents, 12, 13-ish. A girl named Ellie, spelled E-L-I, which should give you your first hint right there. And a boy named Oscar. This is the original movie, and Oscar plays this little abused juvenile just coming of age. He is a phenomenal actor, and he is so sweet. But at the same time, you can tell the bullying is starting to create a little bit of darkness back there that, if not interfered with, might turn into something pretty bad if, something doesn't happen. But you get to see him at the beginning. You get to see the kind of life he's living, which isn't very nice. He's quiet, reserved, and intelligent, which means he's been picked on by some bullies at school. And this young girl one night moves into their apartment complex, and he can tell right off the bat, she's a little bit weird. And they end up meeting a little later in the quad, which is what we call them in England, just a little area around the estate, and so they start meeting down in the quad of this apartment complex, and they are so good together. At first, you don't know really whether she was wondering whether to attack him or not, or whether she was just curious. Because when she first saw him, he was talking to himself, stabbing a tree, doing the little fantasy of getting back at the bullies at school. And she immediately tells him right off the bat, that I can't be your friend. And he's like, why not? Oh, and by the way, who said I wanted you to be my friend? I didn't ask you to be my mate, and you were talking about how you want me to know you can't be my mate. I didn't ask you to be my mate, whatever. So they start off kind of, weird like that, but I think Ellie becomes fascinated with him, and he becomes fascinated with her, and in the meanwhile, you're getting to see what's going on behind the background, and that is that she is with this middle-aged man, who people are assuming, including you, are assuming that she is, maybe he is her father or something. That's what you assume. That's what I assumed. And he's going out and basically killing people and draining their blood and bringing it back to her because she is a vampire. And they did a wonderful job in creating this little vampire mythos, and I had read the book, so I was really curious you know, I mean, I read it after seeing this. I didn't read it before seeing this movie, but I read it afterwards. And going back and thinking about it, I think, you know, if you read the book and then you watch this movie, you will be amazed at how he was able to bring a lot of the controversial elements from the book into this movie in a very subtle way, to where a lot of people, it goes right over their heads. But I still don't know if I want to spoil the big spoiler, because this is one of those movies, the very few ones, The Sixth Sense, The Crying Game. Um, you know, this is one of those movies that has a spoiler, a really, really important one. I mean, it's not important to some people, but it's very important, you know, in an overall sense, in my opinion. But so the boy basically falls kind of in juvenile love with this vampire, and she feels for him as well. I'm calling her she, but because that's the way she presents herself. But she, you know, oh fuck it, he's a boy, is what he is. Okay, it's Ellie for a reason. She says it to him. He, you know, many times during the movie, she tells him that she is not a girl, and you assume you assume that she means I'm not a girl, I'm a monster. That's the way I took it at the beginning, you know. And she's like, you know, I'm not a girl, and it's like, well, no, you're a vampire. You know, you're a monster, I guess, is the way a normal person watching this movie would take it. But that's not what she means. She, you know, that's not what she means. And during the movie, you find that out. At the same time, he finds it out, and it's a horrible backstory. They of course don't tell the backstory, but if you read the book, which is why I ran out and bought the book, because I wanted to know what the fuck. And it's a the backstory to why this castrated boy is presenting himself as a girl. Um, it makes sense, um, but it certainly will freak you out. Um, but the backstory, you know, for the from the book is that this is a boy. She's actually a boy named Elijah, Eli, Eli, which was kind of brave of her to keep it her name. She just changed the way it was pronounced. And a lot of people have said, you know, why was she presenting herself as a girl? Well, stop and think about it. I mean, I know it might be a little bit controversial and it might be a little dirty subject to talk about, but who's going to get more attention, a 12-year-old girl or a 12-year-old boy? Especially if the boy has been castrated. Because she, what, like almost 200 years ago or whatever, something like that, can't remember exactly from the book, but it was like 150, 200 years. She was kidnapped by a vampire and held hostage by this pervert vampire who had kidnapped this 12-year-old boy, kept him hostage. Kind of thing, it reminded me a little of Armand, how he kept the little guy in Interview with a Vampire, the book and the movie. They showed did they show? Yeah, they showed a little in the movie. He's the one that he let Brad Pitt feed off of. But it was kind of a situation like that. But this was a really evil vampire. And when he was through with Elijah, he castrated him and then turned him into a vampire and was going to kill him. But he escaped. And Ellie has been existing ever since. And the simple fact is, whether you like it or not, a 12-year-old just can't live in society. You got to have a caretaker. And the simple fact is, if you're castrated and you're looking for victims, you're you know, as a 12-year-old girl, you're just going to have more opportunity to find a perv, number one, to find victims, to find help. You know, and that's exactly what this guy is. He's not her dad. He's a perv that likes little girls, and that's what she presented herself as. So she is his caretaker, or he is her caretaker, and goes out and does his bidding for her attention. And he's getting old, he's getting sloppy, and he ends up getting caught, and now she needs a new caretaker. And I'm not really sure that's exactly what she thought of the boy as. I think she really cared for him. But there's a lot of really sweet scenes in the movie. It is sort of like a love story. It's just not the kind of love story you think it is at the beginning when you find out that she's actually a male. But there's a lot of really sweet scenes because, you know, when she keeps asking him that, she keeps telling him, you know, that I'm not a girl. And then there was a couple times she even asked him, you know, if I wasn't a girl, would you still like me? Would you still be? And he's like, I guess so. You know, I guess I would. Well, sure, why not? So I mean, I thought that was real cool that they handled it that way. But then there does come a point in which he sees it, sees what she's talking about. He basically peeks on her when she's changing clothes, and he still loves her. Or him. This entity, he still loves her. And the scenes are pretty cool. When the movie starts to end, and he thinks that, you know, now that her caretaker has been caught, and she feeds off him and he kills himself in the hospital, which is one of the coolest scenes when she climbs up the wall. That was really cool. And he wants her to feed off of him, and then he's thrown out the window and dies. She has to leave, and I'm not really sure that she wanted to bring this boy that she was in love with into this situation. So she actually does leave, but not really, because she knows he can't. It's almost as though she can't live without him, and he can't live without her. Even knowing that, you know, it's now not really a girl-boy story, it's a boy-boy story. So that's kind of, you know, interesting that they handled it the way that they did. But he thinks that she's gone, and of course he gets attacked one final time by the bullies in the pool, and she kills them all, except in this one, because I keep wanting to crisscross, because the next movie I'm going to talk about is Let Me In, which is the remake, the American remake. But in this one, she lets one live to witness it. Now, what in the fuck he's going to tell everybody? That's interesting in and of itself. Because in the remake, she doesn't leave one alive. But in this one, she actually leaves one of the four bullies alive. And you're kind of left with that question as to what the hell is he going to say when the cops come, right? You know, there's three like ripped up bodies all over this pool, and he's sitting there crying. What's he going to say? A vampire flew in? You know? So that kind of leaves you with that fuck. You know, what is he going to do about that? But the movie then ends with, you know, them leaving together on the train, just like the remake does. And it's a wonderful movie. It is one of the best shot, best cinematic movies. The reveal is. I remember me brother watched it, and me brother was like, "What the hell did I just see?" You know, at that scene where it was revealed, he's like, "Whoa, what was that?" Which is exactly what I did the first time that I saw it. I mean, I had to pause and rewind because I'm like, "What did they just show?" Hold up. And I don't even think I finished the movie that night. I immediately went to Google to try to figure out, I don't understand what I'm seeing. What was this? Then I found out about the book. Then I found out about the story, what was really going on. And I immediately went to eBay and ordered the book because I had to have it. But yeah, it's everything about it is wonderful. The atmosphere of this movie is fantastic. The attacks are cool. the whole thing is just one of the most creepy little movies that you've ever seen, while at the same time being one of the most beautiful coming of age stories that I've ever seen. And the way they were able to mix this up, you know what I mean? To mix up coming of age with a vampire story and gore and psychological drama all mixed up together. And then you find out that this isn't even really a girl, this is a boy that's presenting as a girl because it's easier in this society, which is kind of sad in of itself to think, but that it's easier in this society to get victims and help and hook up with someone if you're a girl, a 12-year-old girl, than if you're a 12-year-old boy. So there's a little bit of social commentary there, I think, as well. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, this is one of the best vampire movies that was ever made. Great cinematography. The acting is phenomenal. You know, you will fall in love with both her and Oscar as characters and have a lot of deep thoughts thinking about this movie and what's going on in it. So, yeah. Let the Right One In, 2008. Cool lenticular cover. I think you'll like it if you like vampire movies, horror movies, psychological dramas, all mixed up together. It is one of the best ones I've ever seen, and I will be back in the next video to talk about the American remake, Let Me In, which is the remake of Let the Right One In. And I'll just go ahead and say, aside from the reveal scene, it's pretty much shot by shot, which surprised me, but it's pretty much shot by shot of this one, which is, I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, I'll be back to talk about that, and I will see you then. And love you. Thank you for stopping by, and hope you enjoy it.